I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you, my lovely. Yes.
Yeah,
Sunny again. It's always sunny when we record the podcast.
it's typical, isn't it? We'll have to set up some mics and do it outside when we can.
Oh, that's a great idea. I
You,
was actually thinking that as things start, because this week we've had positive news about maybe things starting to come back,
Mhm.
hmm, that maybe we could do outside broadcasts and visit all of the different local groups and do a little live recording whilst they're rehearsing, Ben.
That would be good, actually. To be
Would
fair, we
it?
should do that.
We
Yeah.
could do that.
Well, I'm looking
Can
forward
we
to the
get a
day
van? Can we get a van?
of the treading the boards of van.
Yeah, get it all branded up, and we could give it a name, and it could play. You know, like an ice cream van plays. Like, oh,
Oh,
phone's gone there. We could
great
have.
timing! It plays that noise, does it?
I think it should go. Topic
Oh,
of the week, as we're driving around the streets.
yeah. No, I think we get complaints, but disturbing the peace. But but no, I think that's a good idea. We should definitely
Yeah.
we should definitely. I mean, I'm
There'll
looking forward
probably be groups that will be like locking their doors in case we turn up. They'll be like, make
like
sure they don't let them in.
a surprise appearance. But no, I'm looking forward.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to the day that we can actually record an episode together,
Are
where
you in the same room? Yeah.
yeah, where I don't have to then worry about signal and Wi-Fi dropping out when we're recording, which every so often happens, and I have to just try and edit a little bit around it so it's not too noticeable.
Yeah. And we could record in our own studio.
I
We could
mean,
turn
yeah,
the little room between the two big rooms at the ATC studios into an actual booth
yes,
for
yes,
actual recording.
natural
I've got
recording
egg
studio.
boxes. We could actually put egg boxes on the wall because my sister, right, she works in telly,
Yeah,
and when we went to do a bit of recording at her house with her husband, long story, Spamalot, we had to record him for a bit of Spamalot. Anyway, and we went in their toilet and put loads of cushions inside the bath and made Trevor sit in the bath so that the sound was nice.
yeah. I'm not going to sit in a bath with you to record our podcast, Jill. Sorry for the disappointment.
Disappointed face.
Is that your hint of I want to sit in a bath with Ben? Our guest can
No,
sit. Our guest can sit on the bog. We'll sit in the bath.
could work though, couldn't it? I mean, no one's done it. Or
No,
have they? Did they
no,
not do it on the Big Breakfast many, many years ago? Or was
I
that just a
don't.
bed? I think that was just a
The
bed.
bed. I don't think anyone's going to want to record with us if that's the case.
What if they got to sit on a bog? They don't have to have the toilet seat up. You could sit on the toilet.
I don't actually have to do anything on the
You don't
toilet.
have to have a poo or anything. I've told you that story before, though, haven't I?
Oh God, no! I don't. Why? Where's this going?
Well, no, it's only quick, and then we can talk about the actual topic of the week. I was running a training course, and a lot of the group didn't have their cameras on. So I said to the person who was running the whole week's training, you might want to encourage them to put their cameras on. It's so much easier for the people coming in and running sessions for you if everyone's got the camera on. And so she did, and then one girl took them to the toilet with her.
Oh dear.
Yeah, toilet
Oh,
paper
dear.
and everything.
There has been a lot of mistakes and problems caused by online zooming, hasn't there? Including forgetting to mute and just maybe saying something rude about the person running a session.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we had a little aha moment in the car yesterday, where my son said to my daughter that maybe what is supposedly private chat on a school platform might not be completely private, and that the teachers might be able to see what's being written. And the little face that went on the daughter was quite worried.
Yeah. Never
slaggy never slaggy on the old chit chat.
never assume that anything's private, I'm afraid. I've got to tell you this. It's linked to musical theatre. I've got to tell you this story. I mean, it's changing subjects a little bit, but I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to talk to you about it. So yesterday, I was watching a TV program that I like called Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, and he's sort of basically it's an American show, although he's English. He was the voice of Zazu.
And I've got
Yeah, and he talks about different things and topics and news and stuff. And he mentioned a TV show. I can't remember how it linked to the topic, which you have got to search on YouTube because I've become obsessed with it, and not in a good way. Like, it's awful. So there was a TV show in 1990 called Cop Rock. Okay,
Rock. I've written it down, Ben.
Cop rock, good.
Yeah.
Cop rock. And basically, it's a police procedural drama,
Right.
but it's a musical TV show.
Ooh.
But they take on really serious themes with cheesy, really awful musical numbers. So there's one, and it's the top when you YouTube cop rock, it's the first choice. It's a guy who is a criminal who stole babies for couples, and he's literally singing, "I'm the baby merchant, tots are us." It's like,
Oh my God.
and the worst thing is, like, they filmed it in a way so there's always usually like one person singing and then there's like another person just listening, and it's like a 3-minute long number and they're just awkwardly stood there. It's the most car crash TV, like, I mean, it only lasted for 1 season, but Jill, you've got to watch it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I mean, I believe there's
recommendation or your anti-recommend or your yeah. There must be a
yeah.
word. We could create a word for that. A recommendation of something that's really not good, but you should watch it anyway because it's so not good. It's good.
I mean, that's what it is, isn't it? Like car crash TV sort of thing. It's, you just can't look away. It's, I tell you, you've got to take a listen just because it's quite something. It's quite cringy.
Smashing stuff.
Yeah.
Good. So Ben, is it time to say the phrase?
So yes, this is where I play the jingle version, and then you sing your version.
Yes.
As
Okay.
So yes.
So shall I leave a gap or shall I just go straight in? What's the plan?
I tend to edit a pause for the music to come in.
Okay,
So you're
right. So
like I did last time. Did you not watch the episode?
I did watch the episode and I thought he's done it again. That's what
I didn't cover you or anything.
You did Louise first and then me.
Yeah, but I put a pause in the video. I mean, we're going on to all the nitty gritty here, but yes, it is time to talk about our topic of the week.
Topic of the week.
Topic of the week.
Oh dear. Okay, but yes, we're talking about our topic of the week, and it's one that we've had quite a few. Well, at first we didn't have any comments, then today all of a sudden everyone's gone mad for it, and we've had a lot of thoughts and opinions on our topic of the week. I think it's a really interesting one, and not controversial, but one that I think just generate a lot of discussion.
Ben, just pull your hair down.
What? Because I've got a spot. Jill, why would you body shame me like this?
You told me beforehand that that's why your hair was down.
Well, no,
I told you that my hair was down because I'm being like Gabrielle out of the 1980s.
Yes, before we started filming, I said that I was going to try and keep my hair flat like this, if you can watch in the video version, to cover the spot. But I got bored of it because it looks awful. So I thought, do you know what? Embrace the spot. Embrace the spot. Okay, embrace it.
Yeah, I like it. Give it a name. I mean, let's make it part of the family.
Treading the boards with Ben, Jill, and what's his name? Jeff the Spot. What are you saying?
I'm trying to think of a name that starts with an SP.
Yeah, I can only think of rude ones, unfortunately.
Okay, all right, we won't.
Jeff. It's called Jeff. Right. Okay. Right. So, anyway, back to our topic of the week. Our topic of the week, the question we asked was, how important is it to be a triple threat in amateur theatre, particularly because we're focusing this episode a bit on dance based on our special guest this week. But this term triple threat is one that is heard a lot in theatre, especially for people that are having to perhaps go and train for musical theatre. And it's a phrase, I'll be honest, I'm not a massive fan of. We use it sometimes, but I'm not the biggest fan of, because as one of the people says, and I'll read them out in a bit, it's quite a phrase that hasn't ever been sort of defined what exactly that means. What do you think, Jill?
Yeah, absolutely. As a non-triple threat here, I think I did 2 weeks of dance, Ben. Had a bird in a bird cage. This little bird is mine. And then went and played squash on a Saturday instead.
What was your triple threat? A zookeeper?
No, it was the first...
Actor, singer, zookeeper.
It was the first ballet exam. Back in the 70s, you had to do a dance with a bird cage. We'll ask our guest about it, see if she remembers that. And I gave it up and played squash. So no, never a triple threat. In the words of my father, when I think I was 16, 17, well, you're a better singer than you are dancer, Jill, but then you're no dancer.
Charming.
Charming. And that's where all the confidence comes from, I tell you.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because I think like I think regardless of your skill, even if you're talented in all three areas, I think you'd be lying if you said that you are at an outstanding standard for everything. There's always going to be something that you're stronger at, surely.
Yeah. Or that you love more.
Yeah, or you prefer doing more.
Yeah.
And let's not say you can't learn. You could be an amazing actor and singer, but perhaps dance is where you struggle, and I know that's the same for a lot of people. And then they can go have lessons and train and everything. But there will always be one that you go, that's the one I'm least confident in, surely. And then obviously it's all the different disciplines, like when you say triple threat, especially with dance, where you sort of say, I know people who are incredible, like tap dancers, or ballet dancers who are amazing, but you ask them to do street, and it's not going to be, there's different versions, isn't there? Or like ballroom. So I think, again, this idea of it not being completely defined, I think it's a phrase we've just sort of adopted as an industry, has adopted, but perhaps needs a bit of definition. Yeah.
And also not to put people off. That's the thing. It's that totally that I think people were saying in their comments as well, that the crux of it is being passionate and wanting to do it and wanting to have a go. And as amateur people, you and I both know that we've worked on shows before where you might have a dance team who come out and do the leaping and the kind of tougher routine, but then everybody gets to join in and do some choreography, and people, even the kids who really struggle, I often think if they grasp it and they go on with a smile on their face, even if their feet aren't always doing the right thing, they actually get a huge response from the audience, because actually it's actually far a greater achievement as a director if you get everybody dancing than if you just get those 6 or 7 kids that have been dancing since they were 3 up in the front.
Yeah, and with amateur theatre, like you say, it's about encouraging, and amateur theatre, if I put it this way, if I ever saw a group that said you have to be a triple threat to be part of this group, I wouldn't want to be part of that group, because they take themselves too seriously for amateur theatre. You want to be able to learn a little bit as well, and I think I would hope that people that say perhaps join us, but perhaps say aren't dancers, feel that over the course of doing shows, they've learned a little bit.
Absolutely, I have.
Yeah, there we go. See, you're a prime example, Jill. Should we read some of the comments that we've had, because they're very interesting and we can discuss. So our friend Jenny, who was on a couple of weeks ago, Jenny says, I think it's important to be competent in all disciplines, but not perfect necessarily. Dance is important, as most chorus roles will require a high standard of ability. I think that's a good point. And we've talked about this before, and I know I really am a big believer in how important the chorus and ensemble is in a show, because sometimes they do have more than the principals. And, especially because they're often heavily involved in musical numbers, that is true, isn't it? I think there is room for all performers. Not all musicals are heavy on choreography, and character actors and excellent singers are as important as fabulous dancers. Absolutely. Some shows are not actually as choreography heavy. Often you need to be able to move, and you need to be able to have a timing with the music, which usually tends to hopefully come with singing as well, and understanding of music. A lot of workshops that have been run often have been billed as musical theatre, but will tend to focus on dance. I think it is the one that people tend to feel they need not support with, some maybe support with, especially working as an ensemble, perhaps in dance. But yeah, thank you, Jenny, for that. Will, who is Jenny's son, sort of agreeing basically. I think that being a triple threat in musical theatre is an amazing asset, and allows them to play many roles. However, I found myself not being a strong dancer, that being a triple threat is not the be all and end all to musical theatre experience. And many, in fact, similar to what I just said, many famous shows such as Les Mis will not require strong capabilities in, say, perhaps dance as such.
Yeah. And Will always springs to mind the comedy and the character roles as well, where you make people laugh. And that, I think that's why I've had more of a go at dancing when we've done pantos, because actually quite often I'm playing a character where if I get the dance moves wrong, it's part of the character. So nobody tells me off.
Mandy, who we had on 2 weeks ago, said that again agrees that it's important to have experience in all those areas, and I think that's the key thing, isn't it? Experiencing it, even if you're worried about it, you should experience it. She said, in my experience, where we have had someone who could act a role perfectly, but it required, say, a solo singing role, and this was not the person's strength, you may sometimes be able to not feel capable of casting them in a role, but sometimes you can teach and coach people. I think that is a good point, isn't it? In what you always say with auditions, especially for like drama school auditions, nobody is looking for a perfect package here. You're looking for somebody who can be directed and choreographed and learn. I'm thinking, when Yobbos did 42nd Street a couple of years ago, 42nd Street is obviously a big dance show. It's about.
Oh, and we can talk about that when Kate comes on, because she knows 42nd Street quite well.
Yes,
we'll
we
find
definitely
out why when we speak to her.
Definitely. And we did 42nd Street, and the last big number of the show, we had every single kid on that stage, of which there were about 30, tap dancing. Some of them had never danced in their lives before, apart from small things perhaps with other shows, and they all learned how to tap dance for that piece, and it was quite the sight to behold. Like, it brought a tear to my eye because it was such a amazing thing to see. Amanda, who's also been on the show, lots of friends.
We're building up a following just with the people who've been on. So eventually, if we get enough people on, we'll have a huge following, won't we?
We do have other listeners, I tell you. But yes, Amanda said, whilst there are many roles for which you need to be a triple threat, there are also loads that you don't need to be. For some roles, it's only one of the disciplines that needs to be brilliant, and the others can be good or okay. That's true. There are certain shows where, and as we always say, I always say, especially with regards to singing and dancing, if you can't act it as well as do those things, you're probably not right for the role.
Yeah.
Even if you've got a really nice voice, you need to be able to act the song and keep the character for the performance, for the dance.
Yeah,
absolutely. Nathan Shaw.
Nathan. We haven't had him on, but we should have him on.
We will have Nathan on, I'm sure, at some point. Nathan, who's just finished drama school and just been in his first West End production in London, just off West End, which I got to see, which was really interesting. First show I saw during lockdown. It was when restrictions had eased, had to wear a mask, but it was an amazing experience. He said it's a really interesting discussion that is spoken about at all levels of theatre. Being a so-called triple threat is always the ideal, but this has some sketchy connotations. As does that mean that a triple threat has to be amazing at all three disciplines or good at all three disciplines? What's the standard? Again, what's the level you're judging them to be a triple threat? Again, this idea of it not being defined. Still, I believe you can break it down a bit more than that, because you might have more singer-actor shows. You can always tell if someone is or isn't able to move, not necessarily dance. It's the idea of being able to move, like we just said. My opinion is you mostly need a solid base in all disciplines to give an honest musical performance, if that's what you're trying to do. I could go on about this for hours. We'll have him on.
Go on about it for hours, we can sit back.
We'll just let him go for it. Yeah. I could go on about this for hours, but I think having a sense of timing and a feel for music is definitely essential, but being a Royal Ballet Standard dancer certainly isn't, which I think is a very strong argument.
Yes.
And
we've got an amazing guest coming up, Ben. Shall I tell you who she is?
Tell us who she is.
We're being joined by the lovely Kate Wolstencroft, who is one of the amazing dance teachers at Susan Taylor Dancing School in Banbury. And Kate is the daughter of Sue. So that's two lovely dance teachers there. My Katie goes to that dance school and has absolutely been kept feet on the ground normal through lockdown because of the Zoom lessons with Kate and Sue that have gone on every week. And I know lots of dance schools have done the same around the area, but it's just, I almost want to get her on just to say thank you for helping us so much. It's not necessarily been great here in her tap in the lounge. Just if you've got a bad head, it's it can go right through you. But it has been absolutely phenomenal that they've been able to convert onto Zoom for the last few months and before Christmas as well. So I'll be very, very pleased to give her a massive round of applause as we welcome her to our podcast.
Yeah, so let's all welcome Kate. Hello, Kate.
Hello.
How are you?
Yes, good, thank you. How are you?
We're both well. You just missed me in the intro saying a huge thank you to you and your lovely mum, Sue, for keeping life normal for my Katie for the last few months with your Zoom lessons. So, and that's from all the mummies and all the daddies, from all the dance people.
It's been really hard, but they've done so well. We've just been laughing at like dogs, cats. You'll suddenly see a dog bottom or a cat.
It's not, Kate,
prancing
you're not
across
supposed to tell your children they've got dog bottoms. That's not nice.
One of the families has had puppies, so we've had baby sausage dogs running around on screen. So that's been quite cute. Yeah.
I mean, I suppose it's an advantage of a very difficult time getting to see people's cute pets.
Yeah, I think when we go back in the studio, I'm going to miss all the dogs and cats. I think the parents will be happy to have their house back, though. Like, I think some of the mums have been banished from kitchens for like 3 hours some evenings.
Yeah, we've lost the lounge for 3 evenings a week, but that's fine. It makes us do other things. But Katie's worried because she says she's managed to get the camera at an angle where it looks like her legs going higher. And when you get back in the studio, you're going to go, oh, I thought you were better than that.
Do you know what? It's really funny with camera angles, because sometimes you think, is that them or is that a camera angle? And then other times it's like the other way around and you think, oh, nice. And then the kids are going, I think it's the camera, but okay. So it will be interesting when we get back in the studio. But no, they've done so well. And like some of them are in tiny, tiny spaces. Others of them are quite fortunate. They've cleared like coffee tables out and got huge kitchens and things like that. But they've all done really well. And I think, like you've just said, it's a bit of normality for them. And just a bit of... It's nice to see different faces as well.
Yeah, I mean, keeping on that topic, then, sort of how I mean, you've sort of already sort of alluded to it, but how has this process been in terms of lockdown and trying to keep a business going? Yeah. This is for us, whereas we're running like our drama groups, we're not financially relying on it as such for our personal lives. How has it been for you as a business?
Yeah, I mean, it's been hard. We were pleasantly surprised though with how much support we've had. We've had probably, especially like the older children, so from sort of 8-9-year-olds upwards, we've had nearly everybody take part in the online lessons. Obviously, there's a couple that have said, oh no, we're going to wait for face-to-face to come back because of space or just not possible at home, and that's fine. But we've been really, really fortunate with sort of like the teenagers that most of them have done it. The little ones online is quite fun with the 3-year-old, shall we say. We have got a few that have managed to stick it, and a couple of younger ones, 3 and 4-year-olds, that started during sort of relaxed obviously social distancing last year, but they started the studio and have stuck it online, bless them. But it's mainly the little ones that haven't done the Zoom lessons, which you totally understand. But we've managed to keep going, and it's been all right. But in the first lockdown, we obviously didn't do anything because we didn't know how long it was going to go on for. Nobody knew what was going on. And then when it got to the mini November lockdown, we just said, oh, do you know what? Let's just try it and see what happens. And they managed for 4 weeks. And so when we were back in lockdown at Christmas, we said, oh, let's just carry on. So yeah, they've done amazing. They've done really, really well, bless them. But
and say a little bit about Susan Taylor Dance Academy, because I did say that's where you were from, but tell us about how many years it's been going and things.
I'm going to get my numbers wrong. I think, so as of September this year, I think it will be the 50th academic year. So I think we're on 49 years. So it's obviously my mum's school, and that's where I trained as a child. And then I went off to dance college in Swindon and got all my teaching qualifications, and then came back and did some other work locally, worked from a couple of other places around here temporarily, and then sort of set up. I'd started doing boys classes and late starters classes initially at mum's.
And yet she will not run anything for me and the other mums. We ask every year, Ben.
I hate teaching adults. I hate it.
Kate, if Jill's one of your students, I don't blame you, to be honest. I would also.
Honestly, I hate it. I did do adults when I first qualified at 18, and I hated it. It was the worst 3 hours of my life. I just find it terrifying. I would rather teach 100 children than have a class of 10 adults. I'm sorry.
It's nothing, not that bad, Kate.
It's nothing against you personally or any other mother that's asked me to do them. I just find teaching the adults more intimidating than children. I don't know what it is.
I had a lot of dance experience as a child. I was telling Ben before you joined us, Kate, that I did, I think, 2 weeks of ballet where I had a bird in a bird cage, and I had to do "This Little Bird Is Mine" as part of an exam thing. And then
there you go.
And play squash instead.
Not for you.
Not for me. No, thank you. Not for me.
Yeah, she hasn't brought that bird cage skills into our drama group yet.
I should imagine
Just
my mum
wait,
and dad
there's
might
still
still
time.
have it in a cupboard somewhere. They might produce it at some point. Oh, what, you mean this bird cage?
It'd be good for like a prop for like My Fair Lady, or I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a bird cage in 42nd Street, isn't there? One of them on the Getting Out one where they all snake around the stage. One of them's got a canary in a cage.
They do.
There you go.
When we did it a couple of years ago, Jill didn't offer it, so I'm guessing she's killed the bird. She
Can you imagine
19...
1977 bird in a cage? It probably wouldn't be allowed on the stage because it's probably got like horrible metals and poisons in it.
Fire hazard.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah. Do your props comply to regulations?
I set fire to them regularly just to check they don't burn.
Yeah.
So, Kate, how sort of linking to our topic of the week, which is about being a triple threat, but particularly about dance and how important that is. How important do you think dance is to sort of the amateur theatre world? So for us running drama groups, how important is that having dance ability and skill?
I think dance is really important. Generally, like I think I always say this to the children and the teenagers. Dancing isn't just about dancing, it's about having confidence and that poise. So for instance, when you walk into a job interview, it's having that ability to stand yourself up and present yourself well. I think it links to so much other things other than just dance. So I think definitely it's really important with life skills generally. You know, it teaches you to work and to push yourself. And also, you can't always be good at every aspect of dance. You're maybe stronger in one point than the other. But it tells you, you know, it teaches you to get better, improve, work hard, bit of determination.
And also just so much love, Kate. I mean, that's one of the things that I always think about the girls, and Katie's just one example of many of your students who she just loves it, you know. And you give her a choice between, you know, do you want to do dancing? Do you want to go and play netball? Do you want to? And she wants to dance, and it's that kind of enjoyment and passion that does make them work hard and does make them sweat and ache and moan about the fact they can't move their calves for several days. But they and in a way, so like we did a kitchen disco, didn't we, Ben? And just that kind of dancing is joyous, actually. Yeah, doesn't matter.
It releases endorphins, doesn't it? And it's, you know, all the health benefits of it.
I'm just saying that to me the two things often go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand, absolutely.
Drink and dance.
Yeah, I'm not drinking gin.
You can drink and dance. It's allowed. they don't tell you off for drinking and dancing.
It's so good for them. Like, you know, it's good for their exercise, it's good for their health. Endorphins, like you say, it makes you feel happy. And it forms friendships. I think this is the other massive thing. My really, really close friends now are probably mostly through dance, or that I've met through the dance world in some way, not necessarily from my dance school, but through that, you know, walk of life. And they're my closest friends. And I think it's because you've got that passion, you've got that connection, and, you know, that common ground, rather than, well, we've just been put together in a classroom at school, and so we're all, you know, that for me, I think that's one of the lovely things, to see the friendships blossom with the girls, and, you know, the boys as well when we have them. But I think with regard to like the amateur drama side of it, again, I think it is really important. You know, it's a different skill to add to your bow, as they say. And I just think it's great for people to try different things. You know, I know obviously a lot of drama groups or dance schools, a lot of them just do it as a hobby, as something they love doing, and that's great. And obviously, if you're more of a singer or singer or an actor rather than the dance, have a go at the dance in the shows. You know, just have a go. It's all about enjoyment and having fun and getting something out of it. There's nothing like a buzz of being on stage. But then I think, go on.
No, I was going to say, I think it's an interesting point you make, and when you say about sort of pushing yourself as well, because I think we talked about this the other week about how when you do sort of amateur theatre and drama groups, yes, it's a hobby and you do it because you enjoy it, but it's a hobby that you ask people to pay to come and watch you do. That's what I always say. So you have to have a reasonable level of pushing yourself, and actually, whilst you may have, you know, be a really good actor or even a good singer or whatever it may be, you have sort of almost you should try and push yourself because it's good for you as firstly, but also if you want your audience to come and watch it, give it a go, try it out. It should feel a bit difficult at times. You should come out feeling achy and sweaty and a bit like, oh, I wish I'd have got that right. You should feel that, because the benefits afterwards, when you do a show and you've pulled out an amazing dance routine and you didn't think you could, it's an amazing feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think also there's, you know, in all the local amateur shows, dance schools, whatever it may be, you know, there's always going to be that one person or two people that want to pursue it. So I think you've got to train them that actually, yes, they have got to be strong all-rounders if that's something that they want to go into in the future, because 90% of your groups would be just as a hobby and do nothing with it later in life, but there's always that one or two that want to maybe pursue it. So you've got to be realistic for them, because you can't sugarcoat it. It's so hard if they want to do it.
We certainly love to do, and Bodycut we'd have to do it a bit more than we do in some of the other groups, because none of the leaders are dance focused in it, is that we use the kids to do some of the choreography as well. So
and again, that's so good for them.
Yeah, and mostly they steal it from you, Kate, but as long as you don't mind. We do check normally if she's stolen something from you, but that's so lovely, is to be able to say, look, you've got a tap break here, why don't you guys go off and come up with something for it and bring it back in, as long as it fits the music, we don't mind what you do. And they kind of go, oh, and off they go.
And absolutely, that's the only way you ever learn. Like, as a choreographer, you have to start somewhere, and, you know, doing that, we encourage it a lot at the school. You know, I'll set a piece of free work or something, and I'll go, right, you've got 5, 6, 7, 8 to do whatever you want. And actually, in our exams that we have at the studio, they are now encouraging a lot of improvisation or stuff that comes from the kids, and the kids have got to make it up themselves, because it makes you use your brain. And I love it. I love doing free stuff, show stuff, and I'll put something together and then somebody does it differently, and I go, oh, do that again. and they'll do it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I like it. Can we do it like that now, please? And quite often in show work, I'll be stuck for like a position or a 5, 6, 7, 8 end of a phrase or something. I always say to the kids, well, it worked in my head, or it worked on paper, and they're going, well, it's not working now. And they go, and between us, we all come up with something that works together, and I think that's so good for them. Problem solving.
Definitely. Amelia was doing that at Christmas, wasn't she? She'd written out some instructions and then she kept reading them out and going, when I wrote this down, I knew what that meant. And they were all going, do you mean this? And throwing their arms around. It was brilliant.
That's one of my favourite things with dancers, is that whether you're learning dance or you're teaching dance, you always have your own way of noting things down. And you know that if you pass it to someone else, they're going to go, what on earth what am I doing with my arm? What? I mean, I come up, I know whenever I'm either sort of trying to teach some sort of choreography or I'm learning it, I try to come up with names for it just to help me, like, even if it's just ridiculous names.
That's that guy on the internet, isn't it? Joe
he's just amazing.
And that's the sort of thing, I mean, to be fair, that's sort of what I was doing. When I choreographed Sister Act, we had the busty thrust, which was essentially just the thrust of the chest, the busty thrust, nun jive. It just, they knew it, and if I say it to them now, even like 5, 6 years later, they still remember it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a stick man drawer. I'm no artist at all. My art is my dancing. I'm no artist. So in any notes that are written for the kids, it's stick men drawing, and
they do have to practice it straight away, Kate, because if they leave it for a few months and come back to it, it's hard.
It's so hard. Thank goodness for phones.
Yes, videos have made that much easier, but can you imagine when you have to go back to doing festivals? Because I reckon they'll all have forgotten their dances.
Well, none of them are going to fit their costumes.
True.
They'll have all gone up an age category, so the dances will all be out of date. It's going to be like a full overhaul of everybody needing everything brand new. It's going to be a killer. Yeah, we've already sort of thought this through. Should we start now?
Are you going to try and do a show? Because normally you do every other year a big kind of dance school show. What's your thinking?
In theory, we are due to do it in sort of October, November time. Yeah. But obviously at the moment, who knows? We're sort of just keeping an open mind at the minute. I doubt we'll end up doing one, to be honest. Just because it's so uncertain, nobody knows what's going on. Okay, at the minute they're saying social distancing will just vamoosh in 21st of June, and just like it's gone.
Yeah.
I can't see it happening. I think it's going to take longer than they're saying. And how on earth can you put on a show, with the dances socially distanced? Just, it's going to be very boring. From a choreographic look, if nobody can get within 2 meters of each other. And backstage, how on earth do you coordinate that backstage? It's bedlam. I mean, you both know what it's like at any show, whether it's amateur, professional, kids, adults. It's carnage backstage. There's no way.
No, and I think it's, but even if you could do a show towards the end of this year, you want to make sure you have the rehearsal time to make sure it's of a good standard. I know everyone says to me, I hope it's going to be back soon this year because we want to see something. I can't wait to go to the theatre. Yes, but equally you want it to be good. What the first thing you see is after possibly 2 years for some people, or without a show, maybe more for some people, depending on when their previous years.
Now, Ben has
100%.
made this comment before, Kate, but your brother is actually a professional. I don't know why I'm doing that. He is a professional. And Ben was, don't ask, but just did funny ears. Ben was saying last week how we have to support and make sure that the professionals are all back because it's their living and all of those things before we worry and get too pushy about the amateur stuff. How's he been? And is he doing okay?
It's been really hard for them because my brother was always on stage, and then he went to the sort of behind the scenes. He was resident choreographer on 42nd Street. So he went to behind the scenes, And then his partner has a agency. So they've been doing a lot of work with that. They've got a kids agency and an adults agency. Obviously, it shut down completely, basically, last year. This year and sort of before Christmas, there was things trickling in, obviously, for adverts, film, TV, because that was still running. So there was castings and things still going ahead, a lot on Zoom, actually. So it's still going ahead. They've managed, they're sort of hanging in there. They've got, they've had a couple of commercials. I know one of their guys has been on actually a COVID commercial for like the release of lockdown. It was one of the government commercials. He's on that, and they've had a few films and advert things come through. So they have managed, but it's been tough. But it is, they've got a couple of people that are being held in shows. So I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I know one of their girls definitely has been held in a show because she's one of the leads. So she's got a job when everything reopens, definitely. But of course, some of them, like, contracts just ended. Anyone that was on a cruise, they were just flown home. I don't know how it's all going to work, sadly. I know one of the girls, definitely, she flew out there, was about to start on a cruise, brand new show, brand new cruise, did, I think, a week, if that, and sent home. It's just heartbreaking.
Yeah,
It really is. And it didn't,
for a whole year, and nobody, you probably thought, oh, well, that's fine, I'll be back in, maybe it'll last 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
None of us, this time last year, none of us expected it to be this long. None of us.
Well, it's coming up to a year, isn't it? Obviously, we're in March now, and you're right. I remember even just a week before it happened. I think a week or two before lockdown happened, I remember me and Jill and the rest of the ATC committee had a meeting to discuss whether we thought what plans would we put in place, because this whole coronavirus thing, whatever it was becoming a bit more in the news. And we started putting little plans in place, but in reality we were sort of like, we're still going to be rehearsing, we'll still be carrying on
in June,
yeah, we'll still be able to do it in June, even if we have to miss a couple of weeks. And then here we are a year later. It's been a crazy time. But as Jill says, I do think that with amateur theatre, we're in a lucky position, most of us, that we can just hold things because it's not no one's relying on it for a livelihood. But be like dance schools and obviously your brother and the professionals, we've got to make sure that is supported first and foremost before we should get too pushy about when we can go back, because it's people's livelihoods, it's literally people's lives, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think theatre, it brings so much joy to so many people. Like, I love it's my guilty pleasure. Like, I love going and sitting in the theatre and watching a show. And I have missed it so much. I saw 2 shows in January last year and haven't seen anything since that. And I absolutely miss it. I had a memory come up on my Facebook the other day, and I was like, oh, I'm really sad. And I just miss it so much. And I'm one of these people that, oh, I've got a weekend off. Let's go to London for a weekend and just day seat for whatever I can get my hands on ticket-wise.
You both do that. He always gets the front row when he does that as well. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Get up at stupid o'clock in the morning, outside the box office. There I am, day seat. They're really reasonable if you do that. And then you have a lovely day in London first and job done.
Buy some point shoes. All those kind of things that you can only do in London.
I know. I'm desperate for tap shoes. I need the shops to open. I need to go and try some tap shoes on.
I can't wait till we can get back to doing that sort of thing, to be honest. It's just, but hopefully the end is in sight. So Kate, just if just sort of to link it back a bit to our topic for the week, if you're when you sort of worked with drama groups in the past, and you've worked with different theatre groups, obviously there's different abilities with regards to dance. Some people will have gone to your dance school perhaps, or other dance schools. Some will have had no experience.
There are a lot of dance schools in Banbury. That's on my list to talk about.
Oh god. But yes, there are obviously a lot of but what is it like? How do you support everyone's dance ability to make sure that it's not a case of just going, well, you can go off stage early for the interval and have a cup of tea? How do you make sure that people are involved?
Do you know what, it's really hard actually, when you've got, like you say, such a mix. You've got kids that come to dance schools, whoever's dance school it is, 7 times a week, do 7 lessons, can, put choreography together at the drop of a hat. And then there's others that can't even do like a step dig and like rhythmically. It's so difficult. And I found that really challenging when I did my first sort of like drama group full show. Ben, you were in it. I sort of had never done anything, and then had done sort of like little bits, a little number for here, there and everywhere, and then went and did a full production. And I think that was one of the things I found really challenging, because I'm so used to working with dancers, to then think, actually, I've got kids that don't dance, can't do it. So I sort of did it groups so that everybody had their fair turn. I did it in groups because obviously you've got to still challenge the dancers so that they're not bored or complacent. You've got to challenge them, but like you say, you've got to give the non-dancers or the people that are just doing it and have never really done it before, you've got to give them a turn. So group it, give each little group a different number or different parts in the groups. You can use different choreography patterns and things like that. It's obviously very show dependent, and whatever the show is depends on the choreography, so it's hard from that point of view. But definitely you've got to give everybody a chance at the end of the day and let them have a go, and you sort of work your way around it.
It's also around here, it's also dependent on whether you're in a school hall or whether you managed to get Wickham or whether you got one of the bigger posher schools with a bigger stage, because actually, like when we do stuff at Bodycut, we're constantly thinking, do you know what, if everybody danced, all they can do is sway because the stage is so small. So you do need to split it and do them in different groups. You come forward, do this bit, move back, the next group come in, kind of thing.
That's the other thing, because obviously in Banbury we don't have a theatre, in inverted commas. We're limited to, okay, we've got the mill, but it's not great for everybody's needs. A lot of people use the school venues, and space is a massive problem. You do have to do things in groups, and I mean, for even our dance shows where we've only got maybe 15 in a number maximum, sometimes you still do things in groups, and you'll say, right, I'll do these 4 girls to suit them, because everybody's got their different, even within a dance school, everyone's got their different strengths. Some are better at turns, some are better at kicks, some are better at like whole body things. You've got to play to their strengths, and I think that's what you have to really think of as a choreographer. And also, I'm a firm believer that I wouldn't want to put somebody in a really kicky sequence if they're not kicky, because they'd feel uncomfortable, and there's nothing worse than having to do something you don't feel comfortable with. So it's choreographing to the needs and the kids. For example, if you say, right, we're going to do a triple pirouette, well, some of them can't physically do a triple pirouette, so don't put those children in the triple pirouette. It's nothing against them, but you don't want them to feel uncomfortable. It's making them feel comfortable doing what they can, and playing to strengths and weaknesses. And also, if you have a stage just jam-packed all the time, it's just too much.
Yeah, I think as well, I mean, I know that sometimes some moments that are really effective for choreography for amateur groups are the simple moves just done slick, and everyone doing it in time. That can sometimes be the most effective thing. I think sometimes people perhaps push everyone too much, that can have an adverse effect. Actually, sometimes simple but effective is the route to go in some cases, isn't it?
Yeah, and Ben, you said it earlier, actually, I didn't pick up on it. I think what you said is a really good point about how even though we are amateur schools, dance schools, drama groups, whatever, we are asking for an audience to come and pay. And so, like you said, what I'm a firm believer that whatever we put on is going to be the best that we can do. And you've got to make it look good for the audience. At the end of the day, you're asking people to come and pay to watch whatever it may be, whether it's a drama group, a dance school, whatever. but you know, and also like the kids, you want the kids to look back at photos or videos and be like, oh yeah, look how good I look how together we are, rather than, oh God, that's a mess.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing your shows always have, Kate, is you'll costume them magnificently as well. Many a fun Sunday spent in the studio ironing. I have to do the ironing because I can't do the sewing, just so other people would be sewing, I would be ironing, just so that they all look amazing as well.
Oh, it's so hard, like costuming as well. Like when I was little, I think that's something as well that I really noticed a difference. When I was little, the pattern went up on the notice board, you went to the local fabric shop, you bought your meter of whatever to make your waistcoat, and each mum had to make whatever was, yeah. So mum would say, right, so for this number we're having waistcoats and you need this amount of fabric, and you went to the shop and you bought the fabric and you had to get the waistcoat made or the skirt made or whatever. And at the dress rehearsal, you'd have people come in and literally they had the fabric and they were like, oh, I had to make it at the dress rehearsal. And bless Deb Taylor, who does our music, she used to go home and make waistcoats at the dress rehearsal. And this is now why we do it all ourselves. So we don't do that anymore. We provide most of the costumes. You could
start that again, because I now have a daughter that can make her own, thank God. Up until this point, the answer from me would have been no, thank you, that's fine. But now, oh yeah, she can make a waistcoat. Oh yeah.
Oh, and you used to ask for like a circular skirt, and you'd get like a tight fitted skirt. Oh, it was a nightmare. But no, costuming is so hard, so hard. Thank goodness for Primark.
And Jeanette's, obviously.
Yeah, we always go to Wacky Wardrobe. She's brilliant. But we get so many, like for little ones, like dresses and things like that from Primark, actually. Really, really good costuming. Little nice dresses, flowery dresses and things. Internet, again, it's so hard. It's so hard to produce things that don't cost the earth as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You look. Banbury, can I just ask you twos, because you'll know, I don't know. Is Banbury weird to have so many amateur theatre groups and so many dance schools, or is it quite normal? And I'm going to blow your mind now. In other counties, are there 3 people on a podcast like this in all of those different places as well?
I mean, I know that in terms of amateur theatre, I think it's growing. It's growing, and there's lots of groups. But I know the few times that I've been around to direct, if I've been asked to go and direct things in other places, it tends to be sort of there's the one big one in terms of amateur theatre, and not much else. So I do always say we're really lucky in Banbury with the amount that we've got to do. I think I might be wrong, but I think in terms of amateur theatre groups, we're probably above average for amateur theatre in a town. We're a growing town, but we're not a huge city, are we? So I think we do well. I'm not sure with regards to dance schools though. Kate, you might have a
dance schools. I think we have got lots of dance schools in Banbury, but I think that's quite the case sort of nationally from what I know, because obviously there's so many different associations and so many different dance boards, and then there's people that just do free stuff as well, and I think sort of different. I know various teachers in different areas, and I think it's quite common that there are a lot of dancing schools.
But I suppose it's good, the fact that if you can stay in business with a good amount of students, it's great that there's so much want for that education, I suppose, isn't it?
I think it is very popular.
Yeah.
And it ties in with different things, obviously, that the dance and then the musical theatre, it ties in. I know a lot of dance schools offer musical theatre now as well as dance, so that sort of children do it all in one place. I think I know definitely areas.
Didn't it, Kate? Keeps them off the streets. They'd all be fighting in gangs.
Well, do you know what? I was never roaming the streets when I was a kid, because I was always in the dance studio.
And if you're a gang now, it's just West Side Story. You can just like clicking at each other.
In time, Ben. Not just clicking in time.
Clicking time. some jumps. You know, that's what it is now. There's a gang. But
I'd love to be in a gang like that.
Let's start one. Let's start a gang. It's just our
own
own
one. Down the street into a. Great.
Are you going to shank me? No, I'm going to shene.
I always wanted to do flick flacks down the middle of a road, but I'm, you know, Kate, none of my family are bendy, so gymnastics was never a thing. But you know that
I'm still hoping for Katie.
Just put her on a rack, stretch her out. But yeah, I always wanted to go right down the middle of a road, especially in lockdown. I would walk down the middle of the road and think, I wish I could do flick flacks. Am I weird? Yes. Okay. All right, carry on.
Yeah, you are. You are weird. So just to round it up, because we're coming to the end of our filming time, in terms of our topic of the week, this idea of a triple threat and you know what you need to do. I mean, I'm of the opinion that, you know, and I think I said this towards the start when we were talking, Jill, I'm of the opinion that most people, you know, even if you're good at all three disciplines, you always have one area that you're probably stronger in, but it is about pushing yourself and trying new things. I think that's what this amateur theatre, the industry, everything is about, is just giving everything a go and doing everything to the best of your ability is all that, especially in amateur theatre, that's all you can ask for. As long as you're giving it the best of your ability on those three disciplines, that's all you can do. Thoughts that you might want to share on that? Any for either of you?
I think 100%, and you've just summed it up. It's doing the best you can do. And I'm a firm believer that sometimes, especially with regard to exams, for me, if a child comes out, and I don't care what the mark is, if they come out and they've done the physically best they can do, that is just the most rewarding thing as a teacher. It may not be the highest mark, but for them to achieve and get in and do that exam, however long it is, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, for them to come out doing the best they can do and feel good about how they've completed the exam, that's just the most amazing thing for me. And I think, like you said, the best you can do, and what the best somebody can do isn't necessarily what somebody else can do. And you've got to judge everyone as an individual. I think there's so much pressure on kids these days that, for me, I just think, no, just let them be kids, let them have fun and enjoy what they do. Yeah. And yes, be good at it and do the best you can, because it's a good life lesson to push yourself. But the best you can do is that.
And that's exactly where I started, wasn't it, Ben? We brought it round in a circle, which everyone will tell you if you're doing a speech, it's a very good thing to do, which actually sometimes the audience responds far better to someone just because of that amazing face they've got on, even if their feet aren't necessarily doing exactly the same as everyone else. So that's what we were always saying to the kids: enjoy it, go out and have fun with it. Rather than worry about, oh God, I missed a step, or I forgot a line, or I sang the wrong note. Don't matter. Have a good time.
I always say to the children in shows, at the end of the day, 90% of that audience are just going to be watching your face. As annoying as that is as a dance teacher, you know, and we're drilling them, get the feet right, arms, they've all got a match. But 90% of your audience don't know anything about a technique. Okay, if somebody falls over, they're going to spot that. But 90% of that audience are going to just watch the face and are they having a good time? And yeah, you know, that's the thing, when they come off crying, I went wrong. Some of our
favourite parts of it when they go to festivals and things is when the music stops and they have to keep going. And it's always the kids, they do brilliantly when they've kept going, or something's gone wrong, or they've slipped and then they've got up and carried on.
But again, that is a talent, like being able, and again, I said earlier about life lessons and how it relates to other things going wrong. You're learning to cope with problems and just solve them on the spot.
You had a wee-wee on the stage as well. Did we talk about a wee-wee on the stage the other week, Ben? Kate had a wee-wee on it. Not Kate. Kate didn't have a wee-wee.
Not me personally.
I was like, blimey, this is taking a turn.
No, not me personally. Yeah, we've had at my competition that I run, we've had accidents, we've had injuries. Had a girl get her foot caught in her dress on a leap, and not from my school, from somewhere else, and literally crashed on the floor. I don't think I've had any broken bones, touch wood. But no, yeah, accident and injuries and wrong music,
A lot of
wrong music, playing it off of a phone just so that the child manages to dance. Like, you just do what you have to do to get the kids through it. I go prepared.
I would then, Kate would go, I can't make the music play, and I'll go, hang on, I'll phone Ben. We plug this into here, we plug that in there, we haven't got any batteries.
Honestly, it's the worst thing. I hate the tech side of it.
But is that all that not just what theatre is about, which is the show must go on, isn't it? You know, it must go on in some form, even if it's weird, and it makes great stories afterwards.
I've sat on the floor playing in a competition, sat on the floor playing, I think, off my phone connected to somebody's iPod dock, you know, playing it off of a tiny little dock just so that the child could compete. I've la-la-la'd songs for kids in the wings because they forgot the words, and you just think, I'm just going to sing along and hope that they get through. Like, you just do what you have to do to get them through and carry on. And
so it's
a softie.
A crazy industry for sure. With
Never
great
a dull moment.
Never a dull moment.
Thank you for joining us, lovely lady.
And it's been lovely.
You actually have to dance along to the end credit music. I hope you know.
Doesn't have to be any. Don't worry, you're not expected to do anything too impressive.
No chaîné turns or anything.
Yeah.
I've got my slippers on. I haven't even got any good shoes on, so you can just have the waist upwards dance.
We just boogie.
That's all right.
Yes,
don't expect anything fancy.
Thank you so much, Kate, for joining us. Thanks
for having me.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. And thank you to everyone who gave their thoughts for the topic of the week. There'll be a new one coming very soon for our next episode, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye. Dance it out.